I know what you guys are thinking, and I'm thinking it too. I'm so glad he didn't use the same promo image from the last 6 months for his review thumbnail. I know, you guys needed a break from that image. Even I was getting tired of seeing it over and over again. After hearing about it for months and it doing the rounds at film festivals, The Whale is a movie that I finally got to see today, directed by Darren Aronofsky and starring Brendan Fraser as an English teacher who is mourning the loss of his boyfriend, and as a result of it has decided his coping mechanism is something pretty intense, which is eating an exorbitant amount of food and gaining a lot of weight. And this has started to affect the personal relationships that he has, but in a last-ditch effort, he wants to try and find a redemptive way of essentially getting through to his daughter, Ellie, played by Sadie Sink, and hopefully do so before it's too late. This is a movie that conceptually and in terms of the storytelling is going to be a tough watch right out of the gate, because it's a film it's a very difficult subject at first to make in the first place, but at the same time you also need a very steady hand in order to make sure that this thing lands as best as it does. And the thing is with The Whale is that I fully understand any kind of reaction that comes towards it, because it's not an easy watch. This is an hour and 57-minute long movie that really does go in some very devastating directions and some very brutal directions, but I can also understand someone watching it and not quite connecting with what Aronofsky is doing on screen. But there are some things that are indisputable, and one of those things is Brendan Fraser. I have been waiting for this man to make a comeback to movies in some way. I've been seeing him in Doom Patrol for the last few seasons, which, by the way, great show if you haven't seen it yet. But this is a career best performance. This is an Oscar nomination worthy performance. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised if he even walks away with it. He is really, really, really good in this movie, and I mean, that's an understatement. He tells this absolute tragic tale and he brings it to life so incredibly well that you will be emotionally devastated by it when you're watching the film progress. And I mean, there is a point where I'm not going to say anything, but you will be very much swept up in the movement, sort of to start, actually letting out tears from your eyes. It's going to happen. And he absolutely deserves every single amount of love and attention that he's going to get for this role. He's that good in it. Sadie Sink is equally fantastic too as Ellie, the daughter, and she's really great. I mean, I think this is one of the best things I've seen from her too. I really like her as an actress. I've seen her in a bunch of stuff now to make this judgment, but of the things that I've seen her in, I think this is definitely the strongest that she's been. And Hong Chow, who plays Liz, who is a doctor who is coming to help out with Charlie, the Brendan Fraser character, she's fantastic too. This is also the second movie in the last month that I've seen with Hong Chow, and I think both times they're fantastic performances that are worthy of praise. So definitely look out for her in future movies to come. Aronofsky's direction is definitely bold, and it definitely is not subtle to say the least. The writing too is not very subtle at all. You definitely get every single nuance that you expect to get out of this movie, and it's very directly on your face. That's gonna be a debatable thing, whether or not you like that approach to it. There are some folks who might find that to be a little preachy, and the film has a whole thing about preaching, which is kind of ironic, but when I say that, but at the same time, I think it handles it as tastefully as it can, and it also as honestly as it can. Although I'm curious to see the reactions that are going to come over the coming days, because it's not out in theaters yet. It's going to be out later in this month, but I fully expect some division over The Whale. Because again, not aside from the fact that it's a sensitive issue, it's also about the handling of the sensitive issue. I think it does it fairly fine, but I know some folks who might think otherwise. And so I'm curious to hear every perspective on this and what everyone has to say about how the film's handling some of the more distressing and powerful themes that it's bringing up, which can get a little cross-wired sometimes, because there are about 4 or 5 different things the movie addresses, and sometimes it feels like they're sort of converging in on one another to the point that some things don't get as much catharsis as others do. There is a thing to note over here when it comes to thematic elements. Really, the movie is about Charlie trying to connect with Ellie in a last-ditch effort before he knows that he's on the quits. So that particular aspect of it, I think, comes through perfectly. But overall, I think The Whale is a really well done film, although it's not a film that I feel like everyone's going to love. I think there are definitely going to be folks who turn off the film, who do not like it, in theaters, or it's not going to sit well with them. And I fully understand that. It's not a movie that works for everybody. But that being said, I do still suggest giving it a look, mostly because I am curious to hear the opinions on it. And it is emotionally sweeping, at times, especially towards like the third act. Like there's just some genuinely heartbreaking moments. And I was having a hard time thinking of a grade as well, because I don't really know what grade to give this movie. I mean, it's sort of a similar situation to Blonde earlier this year, although I did like this movie a lot more than Blonde. But I am sort of still trying to figure out where I numerically land on it. As it stands, though, I did really like the movie, and I do recommend seeing it just for Fraser's performance alone. He really is giving it 110% and then some, and I think that in itself is worth the price of admission. So guys, let me know what you thought of The Whale. I know there's not a lot of footage in this review because there's not a lot of footage of this movie. Kind of have to work off of the trailer that's available, and I do apologize for that. But if you have seen it at screenings already, or if you're going to be seeing it very, very soon, let me know what you guys think of it in the comments down below. Or if you've seen it, what do you think of it so far? As always, if you like this, please do subscribe. Thank you very much as always for watching, guys. And I'll see you guys in the movies.